Red Zone, Book 1, Wipeout Squad Audiobook Series. Chapter 15, Escape from Hell. The metro tunnel shuddered like a dying animal. Steele's enhanced perception drew probability lines through the chaos, ceiling panels cracking, support beams buckling, rails beneath their feet sparking as electrical conduits short-circuited under the mounting strain. Every line ended the same way, burial under tons of concrete and twisted metal. "Faster!" Steele shouted, half-dragging Wolf through the collapsing passage. His HUD flickered between hour 1803 and hour 1811, the timestamp jumping erratically as psionic interference scrambled his suit's systems. The whole section's coming down. Behind them, a massive section of ceiling crashed to the floor, sending a pressure wave of dust and debris rolling through the tunnel. Steele felt it slam against his back, nearly knocking him off his feet. Wolf cried out as the scientist's damaged hazmat suit tore further, exposing more skin to the red fog. "Exit ahead!" Deadeye called from point position, his enhanced vision cutting through the churning dust. 50 meters, but boss, we've got a problem." Steele's heart sank as he saw what Deadeye meant. The emergency exit, their only path to the surface, was blocked. Not by debris, but by something worse. Hydras. 3 of them, their serpentine bodies coiled around the exit doorway like guardians from nightmare. The leftmost creature's compound eyes glittered with alien intelligence. The center one's mandibles dripped acid that ate through the floor tiles with a hissing sizzle. The rightmost, eyeless, covered in acoustic holes, clicked and whistled, tasting their approach through sound waves. "New ones," Breach gasped, his wounded shoulder making every breath agony. "Different from the one we fought before. The network sent fresh troops." "They're coordinated," Stitch added, his medic scanner painting impossible readings. "Moving in perfect synchronization. The Queen's effect has them operating as extensions of a single consciousness." Steele's enhanced perception drew tactical overlays, calculating angles, weak points, probability of success. Every scenario ended in casualties. Most ended in total team wipe. They were trapped between collapsing tunnel and living barricade, with no ammunition, no explosives, and only seconds before the ceiling came down on their heads. "Boss," Hammer's voice cut through the chaos. The big man had moved to stand beside Steele, his sledgehammer resting on his shoulder despite the acid burns that made his movements stiff. "I got an idea. You're not gonna like it." "Try me," Steele said, though he already suspected what Hammer was thinking. "I hold the door, you get through. Simple math. 1 stays, 5 escape." Hammer's massive frame was already moving toward the Hydras, each step deliberate despite the pain. "Been a hell of a ride, boss. Tell command that Cleanup Squad lived up to its name." "Negative," Steele snapped. "We don't leave people behind. That's exactly what we do when it's the mission smart call," Hammer interrupted, his voice carrying absolute conviction. "You need Wolf and his data. You need to reach command. Me? I'm already dead. These acid burns went deeper than Stitch could fix. The infection's in my bloodstream. I've got maybe 2 hours before the suppressor fails completely." Steele's enhanced vision confirmed what Hammer was saying. The big man's vitals were deteriorating, his body temperature spiking as the Crimson virus fought against the combat stimulant still in his system. The truth was brutal and undeniable. "Hammer," Steele started. "No time for speeches, boss." Hammer was already moving, his sledgehammer coming off his shoulder in a smooth arc. "Besides, I've always wanted to see if I could take 3 Hydras at once. Call it a professional curiosity." Another section of ceiling collapsed, this one barely 10 meters behind them. The tunnel was eating itself from back to front, and they had seconds, not minutes, before the exit passage was buried. "Go!" Hammer positioned himself in the doorway, his massive armored frame filling the opening. The Hydras responded immediately, their 3 heads swiveling toward him with synchronized precision. "I'll buy you 60 seconds. Don't waste them." "Breach," Steele made his decision. "That experimental stimulant, the one from the transport bay, you still have it?" The demolitions expert's eyes widened with understanding. "Boss, that stuff's unstable, untested. Could cause cardiac arrest, total system failure, or give us the strength to pull him out." Steele grabbed the injector from Breach's vest. "Deadeye, you take one too. On my mark, we grab Hammer and we extract by force. Understood?" "Boss, the Hydras," Deadeye started, "will be too busy dying to stop us." Steele's enhanced perception was drawing new probability lines, scenarios that ended with Hammer surviving. Barely possible, ridiculously risky, but better than certain death. "Stitch, you're ready with that regenerator, the last one?" The medic's hands were already pulling out the auto-injector marked with red hazard symbols. "If we do this, if we pump Hammer full of combat stims and regenerative compounds simultaneously, his cellular structure is going to go haywire. The infection will accelerate. He might transform before we can get him to evac." "Then we deal with that when it happens," Steele replied coldly. "But I'm not leaving him to die alone in this fucking tunnel. Breach, you're with me. 3 count, we move. 1. Steele pressed the experimental stimulant against his neck. The hiss of compressed air was followed by liquid fire pouring through his veins. His HUD went crazy with warnings, heart rate spiking to 180 BPM, muscle fiber enhancement at dangerous levels, neural processing accelerating beyond safe parameters. 2. Deadeye took his injection. The sniper's enhanced vision suddenly saw everything. Every dust mote, every micro fracture in the ceiling, every individual scale on the Hydra's chitinous armor. Too much information. His brain struggled to process it all. 3. Go. They charged past Hammer's position. The big man's sledgehammer was already in motion, smashing into the center Hydra's mandibles with a crunch that echoed through the tunnel. Black ichor sprayed, and the creature shrieked with its terrible 3-headed voice. But the other 2 Hydras responded with frightening coordination. The compound-eyed one struck from the left, its massive head driving toward Hammer with enough force to crush armor. The eyeless one attacked from the right, acoustic holes whistling as it tracked targets by sound. Hammer blocked the left attack with his sledgehammer, but the rightmost Hydra connected. Steele heard the sickening crunch of ceramic armor giving way, heard Hammer's grunt of pain as ribs broke. Now! Steele and Deadeye hit Hammer from opposite sides, the experimental stimulants giving them superhuman strength. They grabbed the big man's arms and pulled, hauling him backward with force that would have torn muscles without chemical enhancement. The Hydras tried to follow, but Breach was there with his combat knife. The demolitions expert moved with his one good arm, the blade flashing as he carved deep wounds into the center Hydra's exposed gills. Not fatal, but painful enough to make the creature hesitate. "Stitch, the door!" Steele shouted as they dragged Hammer's bulk through the exit. "Seal it behind us!" The medic grabbed an emergency lever, and blast doors began to grind closed, ancient mechanisms designed to seal the metro in case of catastrophe. Never tested, barely functional, but they moved, slowly, agonizingly slowly. The Hydras realized their prey was escaping. All 3 heads lunged simultaneously, mandibles snapping for any flesh they could reach. One caught Deadeye's boot heel, tearing away ceramic plating. Another grazed Breach's damaged shoulder, acid eating through already compromised armor. Then the blast door slammed shut with terminal finality. On the other side, they could hear the Hydra's fury, the scrape of claws on metal, the hiss of acid eating through reinforced steel. But the doors held. They'd made it out. All of them. Steele's enhanced perception showed him they were in a service stairwell, concrete walls, emergency lighting, and most importantly, natural light filtering down from street level. They'd reached the surface access. "Stitch!" Steele released Hammer, who slumped against the wall. "He's hurt bad, multiple injuries." The medic was already moving,
his scanner painting Hammer's vitals in harsh red warnings. Crushed ribs, internal bleeding, acid burns to the torso, punctured lung. Each diagnosis was delivered in clipped, professional tones that couldn't quite hide the fear beneath. "Boss, without immediate surgical intervention?" "Then use the regenerator," Steele ordered. "That's what it's for." "It's our last one." Stitch's hands hesitated over the injector. "If anyone else gets wounded after this, do it." Hammer coughed, blood spraying inside his faceplate. "Not dying. In a stairwell. After all that." Stitch's hands steadied. This was what he trained for, what he'd survived the coma for. His medical skills, the thing that defined him, were needed right now, right here, in this moment. He pressed the regenerator injector against Hammer's neck, where the armor seals were compromised. "This is going to hurt," he warned. "The compound accelerates cellular repair, but the process is—" Hammer's scream cut him off. The regenerator worked, but not gently. Steele watched through his enhanced vision as Hammer's broken ribs began to knit together, bone grinding against bone, tissue regenerating at visible speed, blood vessels sealing themselves. The big man's body convulsed, his massive frame held down only by the combined weight of steel and Deadeye. "Heart rate critical," Stitch announced, his scanner shrieking warnings. "The regenerator is putting too much strain on his system. Combined with the acid damage, the combat stimulant, the infection, his body can't handle this many chemical processes simultaneously." "Then give him something to stabilize," Steele shouted, feeling Hammer's convulsions growing stronger. Stitch's hands moved with desperate precision, pulling out auto-injectors and mixing compounds that should never be combined. Cardiac stabilizers with neural dampeners, pain suppressors with blood-clotting agents. Each injection was a calculated risk. Each one might kill Hammer as easily as save him. But slowly, agonizingly, Hammer's convulsions subsided. His heart rate stabilized at 140 BPM, dangerously high, but survivable. His crushed ribs were now merely broken, his punctured lungs sealed but damaged, his acid burns still there, still weeping, but no longer immediately fatal. "He's stable," Stitch announced, his hands trembling now that the immediate crisis had passed. "But boss, that regenerator combined with everything else in his system, the infection is accelerating. His DNA is rewriting in real time. I'm seeing cellular changes that shouldn't be possible." Steele checked his HUD. Hammer's bio readings were lit up like a Christmas tree. Elevated white blood cell count, increased bone density, enhanced muscle fiber development. The Crimson virus was using the regenerator's accelerated healing as a catalyst, pushing Hammer's transformation into overdrive. "How long before he turns?" Steele asked the question they were all thinking. "Unknown."
"Hours, maybe less." Stitch repacked his medical kit with shaking hands. "The suppressors are fighting the infection, but they're losing. All of us are changing, but Hammer's transformation is in hyperdrive now. Then we move fast," Steele decided. "Hammer, can you walk?" The big man pushed himself upright, and Steele was shocked at how quickly he moved. The regenerator had done more than heal, it had enhanced. Hammer's movements were fluid despite his injuries, his strength seemingly undiminished. "I can do more than walk," Hammer said, his voice different somehow, deeper, with an undertone that wasn't quite human. "Boss, I feel strong. Wrong, but strong." "We all feel wrong," Deadeye said quietly, studying his own hands. The experimental stimulant was still coursing through his system, and his enhanced vision was showing him things that shouldn't be visible. Heat signatures through walls, electrical patterns in the air, probability fields that his mutation was learning to read. The question is how long until wrong becomes not human anymore. Steele checked his HUD. Hour 1837. Then it jumped. Hour 1844. Time was becoming meaningless, just another casualty of the psionic interference. "Up the stairs," he ordered. "Double time. We need daylight, fresh air, and distance from this death trap." They climbed. 50 steps, 100. Steele's enhanced muscles made the ascent effortless, the experimental stimulants still flooding his system with chemical strength.
Behind him, Hammer moved with disturbing ease, despite injuries that should have crippled him. Behind him, Deadeye's enhanced vision was mapping their route 3 steps ahead, his brain processing data faster than conscious thought. They emerged into daylight, if the red haze twilight of Karo 7 could be called daylight. The industrial sector stretched before them, a nightmare landscape of corroded refineries, collapsed chemical plants, and toxic waste pools that glowed with bioluminescence. The air was thick with fumes that made their suit warnings scream, but compared to the collapsing metro, it looked like paradise. "We're out," Breach said, his voice carrying disbelief. "We actually made it out." "Not yet," Wolf said weakly, his scanner showing readings that made him pale. "Look behind us." Steele turned and felt his enhanced perception scream warning. The blast doors they'd sealed, 3 inches of reinforced steel, were glowing red. Acid was eating through from the other side, the Hydra's combined secretions dissolving metal that was designed to withstand anything short of a direct missile strike. They had minutes, maybe less, before the creatures broke through. And beyond the doors, Steele's enhanced hearing picked up something worse. The scrape of thousands of claws, the click of countless mandibles, the whisper of an entire city's worth of mutants converging on their position. The Queen's effect had marked them, and the hive mind was responding with overwhelming force. "Industrial sector," Steele said, pointing to the toxic wasteland ahead. "We move into the chemical contamination. The network can't follow in force. The compounds will disrupt their coordination, maybe even kill the basic mutants." "And kill us, too," Breach pointed out, his scanner showing toxicity levels that would eat through their damaged suits in minutes. "Then we die poisoned instead of eaten," Steele replied grimly. "I'll take chemical burns over being transformed into a network puppet." His HUD flickered. Hour 1852. Approximately 6 hours of suppressor protection remained. But Steele's enhanced perception could see the truth. The infection was accelerating in all of them. The combat stimulants, the regenerator, the experimental compounds, all of it was feeding the virus, giving it fuel to rewrite their DNA faster than the suppressors could block. They had less time than the chronometer showed, maybe much less. "Move out," Steele ordered, leading his team into the toxic wasteland. "Stay together, watch each other. If anyone starts showing advanced transformation symptoms, you report it immediately. Clear?" A chorus of acknowledgments. They moved into the industrial sector as one unit, 5 soldiers who were rapidly becoming something else, racing against time and biology itself. Behind them, the blast doors finally gave way. The Hydras poured through, their massive forms silhouetted against the crimson fog. But they stopped at the edge of the industrial sector, their multiple heads recoiling from the chemical stench, unwilling to follow their prey into toxins that even the crimson virus couldn't easily adapt to. Steele risked one glance back, saw the creature standing at the boundary, watching with alien intelligence, saw the horde of lesser mutants massing behind them, filling the metro entrance with bodies that moved as one organism. Then he turned his back on them and walked into the poisoned wasteland, his team following without hesitation. They'd survived the escape from hell, all 5 of them, alive, if not exactly intact. But the real hell, the race against their own transforming bodies, was just beginning. Hour 1859 flashed on Steele's HUD, then jumped to hour 1903. Less than 6 hours remained, and the industrial sector ahead looked like it had been designed to kill anything foolish enough to enter. "Welcome to the scenic route," muttered, staring at a pool of waste that bubbled with gases that dissolved the very air above it. "Better than the alternative," Hammer replied, his voice still carrying that disturbing undertone of something not quite human. They disappeared into the toxic maze, leaving the synchronized horde behind.
Thank you for listening. New chapters will be released daily on the channel. This audio material was produced exclusively for the Section 56 channel. All rights reserved.